right, so let's begin tomorrow, like today's session, and we'll continue from where we left yesterday. So yesterday we were discussing about trophic levels. Trophic levels. Trophic is a word that is used for food. All right, food. So there are different trophic levels. There are different food levels. Like for example, you can see autotrophs are there. Like the green plants who make their own food. They form one trophic level, that is autotroph. They are eaten by herbivores. This is the second trophic level. All right. This is the first trophic level. This is the second trophic level. Then there is a third trophic level. Third trophic level, and the third trophic level is carnivores. This way, there are multiple trophic levels. There are different levels where different type of organisms eat different kind of other organisms. Lowest level is autotroph, organisms making their own. Rahul, that's a complete altogether different ecosystem. That is an ecotone between aquatic ecosystem and land ecosystem. All right, wetland ecosystem is a completely different designated ecosystem today. So autotrophs are the first or the lowest trophic level where the sunlight is directly converted into the food by the process of photosynthesis. Herbivores eat the autotrophs. Carnivores eat the herbivores. Right? This way the thing goes on. This is the way the things goes on. But you know that there is a 10% law that is there. 10% law. The 10% law says that energy that goes from one trophic level to the next trophic level is just 10%. If 100% or let's say 100 calories of sun is fixed in the autotrophic level, then only 10 calories will go to the herbivores. Right? Like for example, let us say there's a horse, and this horse is a herbivore. This horse consumes grass. Let us say if he eats 1 kilogram of grass, and this 1 kilogram of grass, let us say if has 1000 calories, then this horse from this 1 kilogram grass will only get 100 calories. Rest 90% of the calories will be lost in the form of excreta, thing going out of the body. जो घोड़ा है, it will excrete out the waste. That waste will have 900 calories, and his body will only get 100 calories from this 1 kilogram grass that it is eating. Now there is a cheetah, or let's say there is a lion, and this lion is eating the horse. Now horse body has 100 calories. When lion will eat it, lion will only get 10 calories. Rest 90 calories will be excreted out in the form of waste by the lion. So every trophic level, the energy that goes is just 10%. All right. So energy that goes every time the next level is 10%. So next, agar if there is any other level above lion, only 1 calorie will go. And if there is any other species that feed upon lion, only 1 calorie will go. And you can yourself think that extracting 1 kilogram of energy from lion, you cannot hunt lion first of all. And if you hunt the lion, then extracting this much of energy will not cost anything. So there is no possibility of existence of the higher level. And energy only flows in one direction from sun. From sun, energy goes to grass. From grass, energy goes to herbivore. From herbivore, energy goes to carnivore. So there is unidirectional flow of energy. Yes, Rohit, horse consumes 1,000 calorie, but only 100 calorie is used by his body. Rest 900 calories excreted out. It is है ना, it excrete the waste. That waste has 900 calories. His body can only digest 100 calories. Rest 900 calories will be excreted out. All right. So this is the reason that we have only few trophic levels. The lowest level is autotroph, then herbivore, then carnivore. All right. Now we'll look into a concept today, and that concept is known as food chain. All right. We are just beginning. It's okay. You are not late. We are just beginning the session, and we are discussing our first topic today, that is food chain. We are discussing food chain. So the topic that we begin today, our class, is food chain. No. Make the flow charts if you want to write up big sentences. See, basically in 4 days, I want to cover as much as possible, right? So I'm not dictating anything. So if you want to make those big handwritten notes, you can watch the recorded session and make big sentences. Here, I'm more interested in giving you knowledge through flow charts. So please make the flow charts also. If you look at the food chain is nothing but, it is a representation of interrelationship between organisms across different trophic level. Food chain is nothing but, yes, Hasini, I'll do that. Hold on. Food chain is nothing but, it is the representation of interrelationship between organisms across different trophic level. For example, grass, second grasshopper, third frog, then snake, then eagle. Grass is eaten by grasshopper. Grasshopper is eaten by frog. Frog is eaten by snake, and snake is eaten by eagle. This is one of the food chain. This is a food chain. This is autotroph. This is herbivore. These are carnivore. Primary carnivore, secondary carnivore, tertiary carnivore. All right. So you see, autotroph, herbivore, primary carnivore, secondary carnivore, and tertiary carnivore. This is the food chain. It is a representation of interrelationship. It is a representation of interrelationship between organisms across different trophic level, where one organism eats the other and become food for other. Where one organism eats the other and become food for other. Frog will become the primary carnivore. Frog will become the nv6332306@gmail.com. No, only flowcharts. Where one organism eats the other and become the food for other. Autotroph grass becomes the food for grasshopper. Grasshopper eats grass but become the food for frog. Frog eats the grasshopper but become the food of snake. Snake eats the frog but become the food of eagle. Eagle eats the snake. This is the top carnivore. This eagle is known as top carnivore. Eagle is known as top carnivore. And frog is a primary carnivore. Primary. In the carnivores, there are different sections. So this frog becomes the primary carnivore. Snake becomes the second carnivore. And eagle becomes the tertiary carnivore or third degree carnivore. Right? There can be another food chain. Let me give you another example. Is it clear? Yes, Grishmika. All right. Quickly write down the 10% energy law. Write down, make a small subheading and write down 10% energy rule. Let's write down about the 10% energy rule. Write down. Energy flows across different trophic levels in one direction. Energy flows across different trophic levels in one direction. Hold on. Energy flows across different trophic levels in one direction. Energy is, I am typing the same thing in your chat box, quickly write it down. Energy is received at the first trophic level, that is autotrophs that fix the sunlight in the form of food. Energy flows across different trophic levels in one direction. Energy is received at the first trophic level, that is autotrophs that fix the sunlight in the form of food. Then from the autotrophs, energy flow from then from the autotrophs, energy flows to herbivores, from herbivores to primary carnivores, from primary carnivores to secondary and tertiary carnivores. All right. Energy is received at the top trophic level, at the first trophic level, that is autotrophs that fix the sunlight in the form of food. Then from the autotrophs, energy flows to herbivores and herbivores to primary carnivores, from primary carnivores to secondary and tertiary carnivores. However, full stop, continue. However, whenever energy flows from one trophic level to other, only 10% energy is retained and rest is lost. However, when energy flows from one trophic level to other, only 10% energy is retained and rest is lost. This is known as 10% rule. This is known as 10% rule. Full stop. It is because of the 10% rule it is because of the 10% rule that there exists not more than 4 to 5 trophic levels. It is because of the 10% rule that there exists not more than 4 to 5 levels, because after 4 or 5 levels there is hardly energy left, because after 4 or 5 trophic levels there is hardly any energy left for transmission to the next trophic level. All right, so it's all logical. This is the definition for 10% energy rule. Arey, it is a way of saying. All right, it's a way of saying. Sun gives you billion of calories. Then you will have billions of grasses, millions of herbivore, lakhs of carnivore, thousands of secondary carnivore, and few hundreds of top carnivore. It's as simple as that, right? Okay. All right. So that was the definition of 10% rule. Is the concept of food chain clear? Now let us look at another example of food chain. You know what are phytoplanktons? You know what are phytoplanktons? Phytoplanktons are plants floating on the surface of water. These phytoplanktons, are they autotrophs or herbivores or carnivores? What are they? Very good. These are autotrophs. These are autotrophs. These phytoplanktons are then eaten by some small organisms known as zooplanktons. Zooplanktons are small aquatic organisms that eat the phytoplanktons. That feed on phytoplanktons, zooplanktons. So these are autotrophs. The zooplanktons are herbivores. Then above the zooplanktons, the fishes they eat the zooplanktons. So fishes become the primary carnivore. Fishes become the primary carnivore. And then there are birds like pelicans, eagles, seagulls. These are secondary carnivores. Which eat the fishes, right? हमने देखा होगा पानी में एक टांग पे बगुला खड़ा है, and as soon as the fish comes, it eats it up. Pelicans, eagles, seagulls, they are secondary carnivore, eating the primary carnivore fish. Fish eats the zooplankton. Zooplankton eats the phytoplankton. This is an example of aquatic food chain. This is an example of aquatic food chain. All right. नहीं बैक्टीरिया नहीं है phytoplankton. Phytoplankton are kind of plants. All right, very small plants, very small plants. They have, these are very small plants having chlorophyll. Zooplankton, ZOOPLANKTON, zooplankton. These are small aquatic organisms that feed on phytoplankton. All right, these are small aquatic organisms that feed on phytoplankton. Right, they feed on phytoplankton. Ah, yes. All right. So this is another example of food chain where one organism eats the other organism and become the food for other. One organism eat the other organism and become the food for other across different trophic levels. This representation is known as this representation is known as food chain. Right? Clear? All right. Now I'm giving you another example of a food chain. There is a dead organic matter. There's a dead organic matter. On this dead organic matter, earthworms eat the dead organic matter. No, they are primary. Nas, they are the top organism. They die and then their body is eaten away by microorganisms and scavengers. All right, we don't have to go about that. जो टॉप कार्निवोर होता है जैसे सीगल्स, ईगल्स, पेलिकन्स, दे आर द टॉप कार्निवोर इन द aquatic food chain. Lion, nobody eats lion. Lion dies and then its body is decayed by the microorganisms or eaten away by the scavengers. All right, yeah. So there is a dead organic matter. It is eaten by the earthworms. Earthworms are eaten by chickens. Chickens are eaten by, let's say, hawk or eagle. This is another food chain. Dead organic matter is eaten by the earthworms. Earthworms are eaten by the chickens. Chickens are eaten by the hawk or the eagle. Yes, it applies to everything, Grishmika. It applies to everything. This is another example of food chain. But you see, this is not grass, or this is not autotroph. This is not a autotroph, or this is not a grass. However, in the earlier, this was autotroph. In the earlier, this was autotroph. The previous two examples of the food chain, they started with autotroph. From grass, to phytoplanktons, right? But this food chain is not starting from autotroph. So remember here, those food chains that start from autotroph, they are known as grazing food chain, and those food chain that does not start from autotroph and start from dead organic matter, they are just a minute, there's some problem. Do you want to allow this? No. All right, okay. Samir, it's irrelevant, doesn't matter. All right, it doesn't matter. वो grazing food chain का था. This already has a very little amount of energy, right? So this dead organic matter, so one is grazing food chain, the food chain that starts with autotroph at the first level. Second food chain is known as detritus food chain. The detritus food chain has dead organic matter as the first level. Dead organic matter as the first level. Let's quickly write it down. लिख लो ये वाला concept. Write down. Write down. There are two types of food chains. There are two types of food chains. There are two types of food chain. The food chains that begin with autotrophs as the first level. The food chains that begin with autotrophs as the first level are called grazing food chains, are called grazing food chains, and the food chains that begin with dead organic matter as the first level are called detritus food chain. There are two types of food chains. The food chains that begin with autotrophs as the first level are called grazing food chain, and the food chains that begin with dead organic matter as the first level are called detritus food chain. Are called detritus food chain. All right, clear? Now let us discuss the concept of food web. Yes, so then doesn't that matter? See, Sneha, she is correct. The dead organic matter has already very less energy. So huge amount of dead organic matter supports some earthworms. This is not a very extensive. Mostly what is seen is grazing food chain. All right, Snehashish, the only reason is that we mostly see grazing food chain around us, and detritus food chain is very limited because most of the energy is trapped in the form of the green plants or autotrophs. Now let us see what is a food web. You see, let me give you an example. All right, before going ahead, can anyone tell me, can a grazing food chain and a detritus food chain overlap? Can a grazing food chain and detritus food chain overlap? Yes, it can. You can see very well. Like for example, there's a grass, then grass is eaten by grasshopper. Grasshopper is eaten by frog. All right. There is phytoplankton. Phytoplankton is eaten by zooplankton. Zooplankton is eaten by fish. There is dead organic matter. Sorry. Earthworms, chicken, manus. All right. And just for the fun purpose, see, they are overlapping. Man can eat a frog, man can eat a fish, man can eat a chicken, man can directly eat some plants, man can directly eat anything per se, right? All right. So you see, there are multiple food chains, they overlap. And when you represent all the food chains that are possible between different trophic levels, that is called a food web. A food chain is one of the possibility of energy flow from autotroph to top carnivore, or from the dead organic matter to the top carnivore. It is unidirectional, one possibility. And when you draw all the possibilities, that is called a food web. When you draw all the possibilities, no Aditya, that's dead organic matter. It's a here do not use the word herbivore for earthworms. Earthworm is a detrivore. Detrivore is something that eats the dead organic matter. It's not a herbivore, it's a detrivore. All right, earthworms are detrivores. Hai, they can even have their own different food chain. They can be bat, chamgadar. Chamgadar can eat fruit. It's another food chain. So when you go for making all the possible food chains, it results into no, Vijay Sharma. Earthworms are not parasites. Who said earthworms are parasites? No. All right. Yes. Tapeworm in your intestine is a parasite. All right. Worms in the intestine are parasites. Earthworms are not inside the intestine. They are very friendly. They are very important for making manure out of the dead organic matter. Right? Okay. So a food chain represents one possibility of the energy flow. Second food chain represents the second possibility. Third food chain represents the third possibility. When you draw all the possibilities together, you give rise to food chain, food web. So food web is a representation of all the possible food chain or all the networks of energy flow across different trophic levels. That is known as food web. Detrivore is the animal or organism that eats the dead organic matter. Detrivore is the organism that eats the dead organic matter. All right. So let's write down about food web quickly. All right. Write down food web. Food web. Food web. In this, write down. Food web is the illustration of. Food web is the illustration of. Food web is the illustration of all possible energy transfers across different trophic levels. Food web is the illustration of all possible energy transfers across different trophic levels. That is, it represents all the possible food chains. That is, it represents all the possible food chains. On the contrary, A food chain is only one of the possibilities. On the contrary, a food chain is only one of the possibilities of energy flow. Yes. Yes, Gitanjali, correct. On the contrary, a food chain is only one of the possibilities of energy flow. All right. So in reality, they are different. In reality, there are food web. And when you just take one of the possibility of the food web, it is called food chain. Now let us talk about ecological pyramids. Ecological pyramids. Ecological pyramids. All right. Okay. Okay, Anurag. Yes. Ecological pyramids. It is nothing but it is a diagrammatic representation of different. It is the diagrammatic representation of different trophic levels. It is the diagrammatic representation of different trophic levels where the base is always autotrophs and the apex is always the top carnivore. This is known as ecological pyramids. Ecological pyramids is nothing but it is the representation of different steps of trophic levels in a diagrammatic manner. In a diagrammatic manner, the autotrophs are always the base. All right, and the apex is always the top carnivore. So, like for example, let us say this is one of the representation. So this will be always the autotroph. This will be the herbivore. This is the primary carnivore. And this will become the top carnivore. Representation of the different trophic levels in the form of a diagram, it is known as ecological pyramid. Representation of the different trophic levels in the form of a diagram is known as ecological pyramid. In the food chain, you are drawing a chain, interrelationship. Here you are drawing a diagram. You are not showing the interrelationship. You are clubbing all the herbivores together in one category. You are clubbing all the autotrophs under one category. You are clubbing all the primary carnivores in one category, and you are clubbing all the top carnivores in one category. You are not showing interrelation between them. Interrelation is shown by food chain and food web. Here you are showing just the steps of the different food levels. Ignore it. Not required here, Ayushi. Yes, it will always be certain. Let's go ahead now. All right. Those of you who have not written, take a snapshot quickly. We are moving ahead. All right. Those who are watching the live class have the possibility of taking a snapshot on Zoom. Recorded people, those who are watching recorded lessons, please do not take the snapshot. Otherwise, your account will get blocked. All right. Let's go ahead now. Purpose आ रहे हैं अभी पहले first try to understand what ecological pyramids are, different type of ecological pyramids. and then we are going to talk about the purpose. Now, there are three types of ecological pyramids. There is a pyramid of number. There's a pyramid of biomass. There's a pyramid of energy. There are three types of ecological pyramids. There are three types of ecological pyramids. The first is the pyramid of number. Second is the pyramid of biomass, and third is the pyramid of energy. Before even I give you examples of all these, you can write down here as a note. You can write down here as a note. What is the note? Both pyramid of number and biomass, both pyramid of number and biomass, they can be inverted as well as upright. The pyramid of number and the pyramid of biomass, they can be inverted as well as upright. But the pyramid of energy, it is always upright. Pyramid of energy is always upright. Pyramid of energy is always upright. All right. Nahi. Pyramid of number and biomass can be inverted as well as upright, but pyramid of energy will always be upright. Why? Because of the 10% rule. Because of the 10% rule. All right, it is because of the 10% rule. The pyramid of energy will always be upright. Let me tell you how. All right, let me tell you this how. Take a snapshot, those who have not written, because I'm changing the slide. All right, shall we go ahead? Okay. So now, if you look at the pyramid of energy, so there is autotroph, then there is herbivore, then there is primary carnivore, secondary carnivore, and top carnivore. Let us assume that we are making it from autotroph to top carnivore. Where will be the maximum energy present? Where will there be maximum energy present? Very good. We just discussed that autotrophs are going to have the maximum energy present. From autotroph, how much energy is going to herbivore? Just 10% of autotroph. So the number of all right, energy of autotroph will be more than herbivore, carnivore, secondary carnivore, top carnivore. This representation will always be like this because energy flow is unidirectional. Because energy flow is unidirectional, number one, and second, energy flow is unidirectional, number one, and second, 10% rule. Because of this reason, the pyramid of energy will always be upright. UPSC asked this question. UPSC asked this question: which of the following ecological pyramids are always upright? PY, not PI. Pyramid, PYRAMID, pyramid. Right? Let us now look at the second pyramid of number. Now let us look at second, the pyramid of number. All right. Now, suppose in the pyramid of number, we generally ignore them. NV6332306, we do not consider them because they are very minuscule. इनको हम ignore कर देते हैं. We mostly go for building pyramids from autotroph to top carnivore. We ignore the detritus one because detritus one is very, very limited food chain. All right. Now let's talk about the pyramid of number. If you look at the pyramid of number, let us take an example of grassland. There are grasses. To eat the grass, they are a wildebeest. To eat the wildebeest, there will be lions. All right. There will be lions. Now, if we look at this number pyramid, all right, let's say you are watching Africa. You are watching Africa on Net Geo, National Geographic. So now you tell me, number of grasses will be more, or number of wildebeest will be more, or the number of lions will be more? Wildebeest. Wildebeest are wild bulls or wild buffalo. All right, जंगली भैंस जो होती है, that is known as wildebeest. So when you watch that TV, you see more number of grass or you see more number of lions? You see more number of grass. Then there's a group of many wildebeest, and then there is a pride of lions. There may be 5 lions and lioness. All right, lion's pride. Let's say there's a pride of lion. So in this pride, there will be one lion. There's always one lion, one adult lion, and 4 lioness. Let's say this pride has 5 lions. One is the lion, male lion, alpha male, and 4 are the females. There is a group of 70 wildebeest, and there are millions of grasses. This is an example of upright number pyramid. This is an example of upright number pyramid. Upright number pyramid. Quickly draw this. Then we are going to talk about inverted. Then we are going to talk about inverted. right? Now see this example. There's a tree. On this tree, there's one tree. On this tree, there are, let's say, 20 birds. Each bird is having 100. Each bird is having 100 parasites. छोटे मोटे कीड़े उसकी बॉडी पे हैं. So 20 into 100, 2000 parasites. And on that कीड़े मकोड़े, there are 1000 microorganisms attached on them, known as hyperparasites. So that will become 20 lakh hyperparasites. One parasite has 1000 hyperparasites on its body. One bird has 100 parasites on its body, and one tree has 20 birds. This is autotroph. This is second, third, fourth. All right, this is inverted. Inverted number pyramid. This is the example of inverted number pyramid. Right? Similarly, you can build ample of examples. You can build ample of examples. अरे यार देखो कैसे. How many in this diagram? How many autotrophs are there? Shubh, how many autotrophs are there in this diagram? One, right? On one tree, how many birds are there? 20 that are depending upon the fruit of this tree. On one bird, there are 200 100 parasites that feed upon the body of this bird, and there are 1000 hyperparasites on body of one parasite. So across every trophic level, there is increase in the number of organisms. This is inverted number pyramid. It is inverted number pyramid representing the different trophic level in the form of steps. Yeah. This is not an energy pyramid. This is not an energy pyramid. And that is the reason 10% energy rule will not follow. 10% energy rule will not follow. Right? Next is pyramid of biomass. Pyramid of biomass. What is biomass? Biomass is not nothing but it is the total dry weight of all organisms at a trophic level. This is biomass. Biomass is the total dry weight of all organisms at a trophic level. What is the share of water in human body? What is the share of water in human body? 70, 78, 70, चलो 75 रख लेते हैं. All right, आपका ना मेरा, let's keep it 75% of human body has water weight. The water weight of human body is 75, let's say. So a person who is weighing 100 kilogram, what is his biomass? What is the biomass? 25. All right. 25 becomes the biomass. So as you move, remember this thing, as you move from autotrophs on land to top carnivore, water weight increases. Remember this thing, it's a general rule for animals on land. This is a general rule for animals on land. Yes, Nived, 65382, correct. That's an exception not to be discussed here. Let's not focus upon special cases. So as you move from autotrophs to top carnivore on land, water weight increases. अगर water weight increase कर रहा है तो biomass will decrease or increase? Biomass will decrease or increase? Very good, it will decrease. Biomass decreases. That is to say that 100 kilogram of grass will have more biomass than 100 kilogram of human being or human body. This is what is the meaning. 100 kilogram of grass will have more biomass than 100 kilogram of human body because the water weight of the grass is much less than the water weight of the human body. So that is the reason that on land, generally, when you move from autotroph to top carnivore, the biomass increases. And therefore, you can represent this pyramid of biomass on case of land. This will be autotrophs, herbivore, primary carnivore, and secondary carnivore. This is the pyramid of biomass. This is the pyramid of biomass. हाँ आ सकते गीतांजलि, correct. All right, this is the pyramid of biomass on land. On land. However, if you look at, take a snapshot quickly. Take a snapshot. Next is, I'm showing the inverted pyramid of biomass. Inverted pyramid of biomass. When we talk about the inverted pyramid of biomass, what is happening? In the inverted pyramid of biomass, it is generally seen in aquatic ecosystem. In aquatic ecosystem, autotrophs have more water weight. More water weight. And water weight decreases to top carnivore. To top carnivore. It has been found by calculating So it becomes like phytoplanktons, zooplankton, right? Fishes, sharks and whales. So in aquatic ecosystem, the biomass pyramid or the pyramid of biomass is inverted. In case of aquatic ecosystems, right? So these are the these are the ecological pyramids. These are the ecological pyramids. All right. Now we are going to discuss the concept of biomagnification and bioaccumulation, which is related to pollution across different trophic levels. All right, quickly draw it. Give me a minute. All right. See, biomass, देखिए, the organism that are living in water, they are supposed to have high water weight, but it is generally found that the aquatic plant's body is mostly made up of water weight. So the water weight of aquatic phytoplanktons or autotrophs is way more than the water weight of the top carnivores such as sharks and whales. And that is the reason, Mashinder, that is the reason that in aquatic system, the pyramid of biomass is inverted. Whereas in case of, you can say in case of this, what we call it as land. In case of land, the pyramid of the pyramid of biomass is upright, because as you move up to the top carnivores on land, they have more water weight than the grasses or the trees or anything like this, right? Okay. Now we are going to talk about two very important concepts known as bioaccumulation and biomagnification. One is called bioaccumulation and biomagnification. Bioaccumulation and biomagnification. It is related to the concept of pollutants. Pollutants in a trophic level. All right, pollutants. So, like for example, yes, Arpita, correct. That's totally bio. That's totally common sense. Correct. All right. चलिए ह्यूमन को रहने देते हैं. Let's talk example of a fish. Fish is eating mercury that is present in the water. Fish is eating mercury that is present on the water, that is present in the water. Fish is eating the mercury that is present in the water. You'll have to excuse me. There's a spill here. Let me ask someone to clean it off. Yeah. Fish is eating some organism which has mercury. Mercury concentration will keep on increasing in the fish. Mercury's concentration will keep on increasing in the fish. This process of increase in concentration of the pollutant, this mercury is a pollutant. The mercury is a pollutant. Mercury is a pollutant. And this pollutant concentration is increasing in the organism when the organism is at a trophic level. So in one trophic level, when an organism continuously eat, all right, in a trophic level, when an organism continuously eat some kind of food that has pollutant in it, the concentration of pollutant in that organism keep on increasing. Am I right? This process of increase in the concentration of the pollutant in the body of the organism is known as bioaccumulation. It is known as bioaccumulation. Clear? Right? This is known as bioaccumulation. So bioaccumulation is the process by which the pollutant concentration keep on increasing in an organism located in a trophic level. Now, you see, let us take an example. In the zooplankton, let us say there is 0.001 gram mercury. In the body of the fish, let us say there is 0.1 gram of mercury. Because one fish is eating 100 zooplankton. One fish is eating 100 zooplankton. One man, let us say, is eating 10 fish. What will be the concentration of mercury in man? It will be 1 gram of mercury. Is the concentration of mercury increasing across the trophic level or decreasing? Is it increasing or decreasing? Increasing. This process or this phenomena in which the concentration of pollutant increases across the trophic level. This is known as biomagnification of pollutant. This is known as biomagnification of pollutant. This is known as biomagnification of pollutant. So you see, here it is the bioaccumulation. Here bioaccumulation of pollutant takes place. Here the bioaccumulation of pollutant is taking place. And here biomagnification is taking place. When the concentration of the pollutant increases within the same trophic level, it is known as bioaccumulation. And when the concentration of the pollutant increases across the trophic level, it is known as biomagnification. Is this concept clear? Is it clear? All right, good. Now, for bioaccumulation and biomagnification, a pollutant must satisfy all right, for bioaccumulation and biomagnification, a pollutant must satisfy what? Some conditions. A pollutant will experience good amount of bioaccumulation and biomagnification when this pollutant satisfy following conditions. Number one, the pollutant is soluble in fat. All right, the pollutant must be soluble in fat. The pollutant must be long lived. All right, the pollutant must be storable, yeah, must be soluble in fat. It must be long lived, right? It has to be long lived for a pollutant to experience bioaccumulation and biomagnification. All right, it must be mobile and biologically active. It must be mobile and biologically active. What does it mean? If a pollutant is soluble in water, why will it not be a good pollutant? If a pollutant is soluble in water, why will it not be a good pollutant? Anybody? Any reason? No reason. Because it will flush out. Very good. Because water soluble pollutants are easily flushed out of the body. All right, when your body excrete urine, when your body excrete all those pollutants which are water soluble, they are thrown out of your body. But if a fat soluble pollutant is eaten up, that fat soluble pollutant is going to remain fixed in your body. It will not come out of the body through urine. All right. Second, it must be long lived. If it breaks down in your body, then it will not longer be a pollutant. So it must be long lived. Third, it must be mobile. That is, it must be able to transmit from one organism to another. When one organism is eaten by other organism, it must be able to fit into the body of other organism. So when we eat fish, So the pollutant from that fish should fix in our body also to remain a good pollutant entering into the process of biomagnification. And lastly, that pollutant must be biologically active, that is, it must be capable to produce ill effect. Correct, Arpitanjali? Correct. These are the 4 conditions required for a pollutant to be a strong pollutant capable enough to cause harm and experience bioaccumulation and biomagnification. I hope it makes sense. Yes, yes, Deepak, you should not eat big fishes like tuna. There is a fish called tuna. Tuna fish or any big fish must not be eaten because this big fish has mercury as a pollutant. And can anyone tell me what disease is caused by mercury? What disease is caused by mercury? Minamata disease. Good, 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 good. See, goiter is caused by iodine deficiency, right? Minamata. All right, Minamata. MINA. Minamata disease. This Minamata disease is caused by mercury. It is when an organism is eaten. Yes, yes, correct, correct. When an organism is eaten, biologically mobile, sorry, this mobile pollutant will be like, okay, I was earlier in the body of fish, now I will stick to the body of the human. All right, now I'll stick to the body of human. That is what is the meaning of the term mobile. So if a pollutant has these characteristics, that pollutant will certainly undergo bioaccumulation and biomagnification. One example is DDT. जो pesticide आता था DDT, this DDT, endosulfan, yes, these all are examples of pollutants that can experience bioaccumulation and biomagnification. Endosulfan is used in what agricultural crop? Endosulfan is primarily used with what agricultural crop? Anybody? Kerala side, very good. Cashew nuts, है ना? Cashew, काजू की खेती में एंडोसल्फान बहुत ज्यादा यूज होता है. All right, okay. Now, we are going to look into, can anyone tell me who wrote this book, Silent Spring? This was the question that was asked to me in my UPSC interview. In my first UPSC interview, I have appeared in 4 IAS interviews. In one IAS interview, I was asked this question, that who wrote this book, Silent Spring? Very good. Very good, Avasthik. Rachel Carson. This lady got cancer because of the DDT consumption. So eating any fruits and vegetables which was sprayed with DDT made this lady, Rachel Carson, to develop cancer. No, Gitanjali, no, they are different. Pollutant and virus are different. All right, so this lady, Rachel Carson, she started a kind of revolution in United States against the DDT using by the fertilizer companies or the pesticide companies. And this book, Silent Spring, played a very, very important role. This book, Silent Spring, played a very, very important role. All right. So just for your information, please do note this: Rachel Carson and Silent Spring. Now we are going to talk about something that is known as biotic interactions. We are learning about biotic interactions. All right, biotic interactions. Biotic interactions are interactions between different organisms. All right, biotic interactions are interactions between different organisms in an ecosystem. Interaction between organisms in an ecosystem. It is the interaction between organisms in an ecosystem. So if we look at the different type of interactions, they are classified as number one. So let us say there are two organisms, organism 1 and organism 2, O1 and O2. There are two organisms which are interacting. Suppose if their interaction benefits both of them, animal 1 is impacted positively by the presence of animal 2 and animal 2 is benefited positively by the presence of animal 1. What is it called? What kind of relationship they share? Do they share symbiotic relationship or not? This kind of relationship, which is a symbiotic relationship, it is known as mutualism. In mutualism, because of interaction of two different organisms, they both are benefited. One is benefited by the presence of second is benefited by the presence of first. This kind of biotic interaction is known as mutualism. Sometimes, because of the presence of one organism, one is benefited, the other is neutral. This is known as commensalism. Good. Commensalism. In commensalism, one organism is benefited, the other has neither positive nor negative impact. Let me give you an example here. What is this relationship? Is it commensalism, mutualism? What kind of relationship does a farmer and earthworm represent? What is the benefit that the earthworm is getting from the farmer if you are saying mutualism? If you say mutualism, then what benefit does the earthworm get from the farmer? Zero. Okay. Yes. Bhaiya, farmer puts manure, right? Farmer puts crop degrade. Farmer puts dead organic matter on his field. So here in this example, farmer is putting dead organic matter, that is known as humus, on the field. This dead organic matter or humus is the food of earthworm. So farmer positively impact the earthworm. Farmer positively impact the earthworm, right? Then the earthworm, they convert this dead organic matter into manure, and manure is beneficial to the farmer. So the earthworm positively impact the farmer. This is mutualism. This is an example of mutualism. This is an example of a mutualism, and that's why that's why this earthworms are called farmers' friends. This is the reason earthworms are called as farmers' friends. Let us come back. So the second type of relation is, one is positively benefited and the other one remains neutral. That is commensalism. So if we look at one example, you must have seen that sometimes what it is, looks like a bull. All right. When the bull walks on the field, there is a bird that sits on the back of this bull, and as this bull walks, it goes down and again come back and sit on its back. Yes, crane. All right, let's call it crane. All right, so there's a farmer. It's not a beautiful drawing, right? You can see this neck. It's not doing something like, all right. Yeah, cattle egret. Correct. That's called cattle egret. All right, that's not even a crane. That's called cattle egret. Yes. So cattle egret is sitting on the back of the cattle, which is walking in a field which is flooded with water. So when the cattle feed goes inside the water, it brings organisms up. This bird egret goes, eat the organism, and again sit back and see for the second organism to come out. Is this cattle getting benefit from? Is this cattle getting benefit from egret? There is no benefit to the cattle. There is no benefit to the cattle. But is this egret getting benefit from the cattle? Yes. Egret is benefited. Cattle has no benefit. This kind of relationship is known as commensalism. This kind of relationship is known as commensalism. All right. Next, sometimes in presence of two different animals, it results into damage to both of them. No, it is not amensalism. It is not parasitism. No. Very good. It is competition. It is competition. In competition, both the organisms are negatively impacted. In competition, both the organisms are negatively impacted. For example, tiger, lion and cheetah living side by side. in the prairies, sorry, in the savanna grassland. What does lion feed on? The deer. What does cheetah feed on? The deer. So they hunt for the same organism. This is known as competition. Competition का example है lion plus cheetah living side by side with each other. That is competition. Next is one is benefited, another one is harmed. Then it is Gitanjali, then that will become mutualism. All right, then that will become mutualism. Yeah. So this is parasite, correct. This is known as parasitism. This is known as parasitism. When one is benefited and another is harmed. This is known as parasitism. So the one who is benefited is called parasite, and the one that is harmed is called host. Parasite will get benefit from the host, and the host will be damaged by the parasite. All right, example of parasitism. There is a plant known as amarbel. There is a plant known as amarbel. So this is a creeper. All right, this creeper grows around a tree, suck out all the nutrition from the tree, and eventually survive self, kill the tree. Itself survives, taking all the nutrition from the tree, and the tree ultimately dies. This is an example of amarbel. Nahi, kahan? It is not a symbiotic relationship. Yes. Lice on dog. Lice sucking dog's blood. Dog is harmed, lice is benefited. All right. Another example, virus. Virus makes use of your cells to replicate and grow for self and damages you. Lice are very Vaishnav, lice are like जुएं होते हैं ना, जुएं. All right, lice, जुएं. Mosquito is a parasite. Suck the blood out of you for preparing its eggs. Eggshell require calcium. Where does mosquito gets their calcium from? From the blood of the organism that they bite. And this is the reason that male mosquitoes do not bite. You know why male mosquitoes do not bite? Why is it that only the female mosquitoes bite and not the male mosquitoes? I think I've already given you the answer. Male mosquitoes do not bite because the female have to lay the eggs. So they need calcium, and their body does not have calcium. They acquire the calcium from the body of the host they are biting. Correct? To produce eggs. All right, they need calcium, and they take calcium from nowhere else but the blood of the host that they are biting. Tapeworm in your intestine, good. Tapeworm take all the nutrition out of you and you remain starved from nutrition. होता है ना कई बच्चे की बहुत खाता है जी, लगता ही नहीं है. वो लगता क्यों नहीं है? बिकॉज जो लगना चाहिए था वो तो टेपवर्म खा गया. ऑलराइट, या Venus flytrap, picture plant, everything is correct. Similar to this, there is another thing. Similar to this, there is called predation. Predation. In predation, there is one benefited and second negatively harmed. What is predation? Who is a predator? Who is a predator? Lion and a deer. Correct. Lion is the predator and deer is the prey. So this predation involves two things. This predation, it involves two things. One is called prey and second is known as predator. Prey, the predator feeds on the prey. The predator includes lion. The prey includes deer. The predator includes cheetah. The prey includes deer. The prey is mouse. The snake is the predator. They are positively benefited. They are negatively benefited. This is another kind of relationship. Predation. This is known as predation. This is known as predation. All right. Next is amensalism. Next is amensalism. Next is amensalism. In amensalism, one is negatively harmed and the second is neutral. One is harmed by the presence of another organism and the second organism remains neutral. Yes, yes, plant and goat, correct. Yes, predation is same as parasitism. Only difference between predation and parasite is that parasite will always live on the body or inside the body of the host. Remember this. Parasitism is one-way interaction. All right, I am not interacting with the parasite on my body. My parasite is interacting on my body. So parasitism and predation, they are having the similar impact on each other. But in prey and predation, there is an interaction. कि हिरण ने शेर की तरफ देखा, शेर ने हिरण की तरफ देखा, शेर हिरण की तरफ भागा, हिरण शेर से दूर भागा. So there is an interaction that you can see. In case of parasite, it is not going to happen. You are not going to see, okay, मेरे सर की जू ने मेरी तरफ देखा, मैंने जू की तरफ देखा, फिर जू मेरी तरफ भागी, मैं जू से दूर भागा. That doesn't make sense. The parasite either lives on the body or inside the body of the host. So there's a host parasite relationship in parasitism. It is Grishmika. It is Grishmika. All right. It is a kind of predation. Venus flytrap is a predation. Pitcher plant is a predation. There's an interaction. All right. Pitcher plant attract the insects to come to them. Clear, everyone? So next is amensalism, where one is benefited and another is neutral. Let me give you an example of amensalism. Sorry. Do both trees and grass, do they both require sunlight? Do they both require sunlight? Yes. The sunlight is coming, and this is the shadow of the bigger tree. Is there any harm to this tree because of presence of grass? Is there any harm to this tree because of presence of grass? No. So tree is not harmed. Is there any harm to this grass because of the tree? What is the harm to the grass? No sunlight. No sunlight. Shadow. So the grass is negatively impacted. This is an example of amensalism. This is an example of amensalism. Right? So this is amensalism. And the last interaction is called neutralism. In neutralism, both of them are neither positively impacted or negatively impacted. That is called as neutralism. This is called as neutralism. What is the example of neutralism? Dog and human. Stray dogs. All right, let's not talk about the pet dog. Dog and human is an example of neutralism. Yes, Yogita, hold on. All right. डॉग अपनी जिंदगी में मस्त है, इंसान अपनी जिंदगी में मस्त है, आसपास रहने से किसी को कोई फायदा नुकसान नहीं है, राइट? सो देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम. डियर एलिफेंट इज अनदर एग्जांपल ऑफ एमेंसिलिज्म. कोई दिक्कत नहीं, सब आसपास जी रहे हैं. और राइनोसोरस एंड डियर आर लिविंग साइड बाय साइड, नो प्रॉब्लम. ऑलराइट, सो दे आर न्यूट्रलिज्म वेयर देयर इज नाइदर पॉजिटिव नॉर नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट. हाँ, मैन एंड एंट, करेक्ट. मैन एंड आंट कैन बी. All right, cow and goat can be. Yes, no problem. All right. अरे नहीं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं प्रगुन. That's overstretching the argument. All right, that's overstretching the argument. All right, so this is one of the. These are the different biotic interactions. All right, these are the different biotic interactions. Can anyone give one more example of amensalism? Another example for amensalism. What comes to your mind? You may say that penicillin, fungi and bacteria. All right, good. Bread and fungus. Plant and human. Okay. Okay, that is good. Greedy man and nature. Nahi, that is more of a predation. Greedy man and a nature is more of a predation. Right? Let me give you. Actually, I am not able to get this penicillin, fungi and bacteria, though it appeals to me a lot. चलो एक कल बता देंगे आपको, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. We'll discuss it tomorrow, no problem. All right. So now we are almost close to the this ecology, and I think that tomorrow, after a few concepts, we might begin with what is basically known as. We'll begin with climate change related concepts tomorrow only. All right. A quick recap is being demanded. Let me give you a quick recap. So today we started discussion. देखिए, what I have been told was that if we talk about the NCERT coverage of or NIOS coverage of environment, then the final 4 chapters of bio NCERT are to be done. But I think that that's irrelevant from examination point of view. So what I decided was that I will teach you the concepts. They are more important than anything else. And this is what we are doing. Penicillin produced by fungi kills the bacteria but self not harmed. Oh, okay. Correct. So I was thinking about antibiotics and bacteria, and yes, penicillin is the bacteria antibiotic, right? So penicillin is not benefited, but the bacteria is killed. Fairly good example. Thank you, Durga. Thank you, Durga Prasad. Let me share this with everybody else. Thank you. Penicillin produced by fungi, penicillium. So this penicillin is the antibiotic produced by fungi that kills the bacteria, but fungi is not harmed. So one is neutral, second is negative. I mean, this is amensalism. Good. All right. And second case of amensalism is after the exam result, when you did not perform well, when a relative come to your house, the relative is neither benefited nor harmed, but you are certainly harmed जब वो कहते हैं कि बेटा result कैसा रहा. All right, that's just okay. All right. So we started discussing, we started today's discussion on understanding what a food chain is. Then we discussed what a food web is. Then we discussed the ecological pyramid. We discussed different type of ecological pyramids, pyramids of number, pyramids of energy, and pyramid of biomass. Then we discussed bioaccumulation, biomagnification, and we ended our class by looking at biotic interactions. Tomorrow I am going to teach you a concept known as ecological succession. I'm going to tell you about the red data book. All right, the classification of the organisms into critically endangered, endangered. All right, what it is. We are going to discuss about them, and then we'll switch to some climate change related concepts. And on Friday, we are going to spend the entire 2 hours upon climate change, global warming, acid rain, and all other concepts. All right. See, देखिए, again and again this question is coming up. I can either provide you the notes or I can help you draw the flow charts. This is not something that I have deliberately did. So this is not something that I am trying to reduce something or anything. No, please try to understand UPSC examination demands flow chart approach. You should learn how to make notes out of flow charts, because when the exam will come, your big written words will of no use. If you have summarized your notes in the form of flowcharts, that is going to benefit you the most. Had I been making you write down these concepts, trust me, we would have been completed what we did yesterday in 2 lectures. So flowcharts give us the pace. Number one, flowcharts help us revise and recapitulate the concept that has been done in the class. And if you want to write big notes, you are most welcome to do that. And for that, you have the recorded lecture. आराम से मुझे recorded form में देखो, बार बार सुनो कि सर ने ये बोला तो अब मैं ये लिखता हूँ. But trust me, that is of no use, right? All right. See, if you want to know what is an advanced book for environment and ecology, for my preparation, during my preparation, I referred to the book called Shankar IAS. I referred to that book. It's a good book. It's a good book. All right. Janvi will, I'll solve this doubt tomorrow in the class. Don't worry. All right. Yes, Algam. Yes, Gitanjali, correct. See, many people want to read advanced. Go ahead, read it. I have no problem. All right. The environment book by Shankar. Just type it. If you want to order it, order. If you don't want to order, it's fine. In our advanced courses, when we take the concept in the class, after that, you don't require any other material. All right. And that is what my purpose is. If we are not spending 10-15 days together on environment, which is the typically the space for the entire environment course, if we have 4 days, we must make the most out of it. And for that, I will teach you the concepts which UPSC directly asks in the exam, right? Yeah. So that's all from today's class. See you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Bye bye. Take care. Right? Okay. Rohit, they asked me कि कौन सी book बढ़िया है, मैंने बता दी. There is an environment book by Majid Hussain. There's an environment book by D.R. Khuller. There's an environment book by Shankar. All are good. All are good. Refer to anyone. You can ask me 10 more names. I can give you 10 more names. The ultimate thing is understanding the concept. That is of more priority. Okay, in my interview, what they ask, okay. We'll discuss okay. The name of the book that was asked in my interview, that was Silent Spring. Silent Spring. The book by Rachel Carson. Silent Spring. All right. All right. Okay. No, I am out of preparation now. All right. I have played my game, a very long game. I enjoyed it. देखिए 2015 first interview, I missed the finalist by 34 marks. 2016 second interview, finalist by 21 marks. 2017 final interview, faced the interview 17, third interview, missed the finalist by 11 marks. And 2018 missed the finalist by 5 marks. Extended list 4 number बढ़ी 1 number से. All right, but it's fine, no problem. All right, I'm still enjoying my life a lot. UPSC gives me a lot of things. All right, it's given me a very good lifestyle, enjoying it. So prepare it hard and nicely. You will always get something good out of your efforts, trust me. All right, so see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Bye bye everyone, take care, bye.